Three books that changed how I learn and teach. I've spent years and years helping people improve their TOEFL speaking skills, their English speaking skills, and motivation comes up all the time. But I found that motivation tends to follow structure. When your system gives you direction and feedback, motivation shows up more often. These three books helped me build that kind of system. Let me introduce you to each. Peak. Favorite chapter, chapter 6, deliberate practice in everyday life. Erickson helped me clarify what actually leads to improvement. The key is having a specific goal, a way to measure progress, and a method for getting feedback. When those elements are in place, it becomes easier to stay on track. One thing that stood out here was how practical deliberate practice can be. It's not some esoteric notion, right? It doesn't need to happen in a lab or a training session. It can happen during an evening study session as long as your target is clear and you're focused on changing something very specific, okay? That idea shaped how I approach TOEFL speaking prep significantly. Once someone knows which part of their speaking needs work, maybe it's rhythm or coherence, they can build a focused loop around that. And that kind of clarity keeps people motivated because they just stop guessing. Okay, second one, Focus by Daniel Goleman. Goleman takes a deeper look at the idea of practice. A lot of people have heard that it takes 10,000 hours to master something. That's right from Erickson, right? This is not Gladwell. What often gets missed here is that number doesn't mean much without quality. This is Erickson's point too. The source of that idea, Erickson, was pointing to a very specific kind of practice, not just time on task, okay? The part that stood out here in the Goleman was how much of your practice depends on the quality of your attention. People can repeat the same task for hours and hours. I see it all the time with no real improvement if they're not tuned into what's happening. So without your focused attention, there's no useful signal to work from. That idea helped me refine how I train learners and teachers. And instead of chasing time or volume or just having time as the core KPI, I try to help people aim their attention. Focused practice, even in short sessions, tends to produce much better results and it feels more rewarding and it's more efficient. Okay, the science of self learning. This is Peter Hollins. He's got another one actually more recent called How to Self-Learn also. In both, he covers the SQ3R method, what he calls the SQ3R technique: survey, question, read, recite, and review. It's a simple framework, a simple structure, but it changes how you approach material. It makes you much more reflective, right? You move through it with intention instead of just skimming through out of habit. I found this especially useful when applied to learning from feedback. For example, on my speaking score, a learner can step back, look at the performance as a whole, identify the area they want to understand better, go deeper into it. This kind of structure reduces mental clutter. It gives people something to focus on. When the process makes sense, motivation becomes less of a struggle. I'll add a bonus book here if you're into this kind of thing, Wrapped by Gallagher. It's also an excellent look at focus and attention in your life. But those three books, those main books that I talked about, point to the same idea here, the same theme about motivation. It's not something you wait for to kick in. It tends to follow structure, systems, feedback, and focus. And when those are in place, progress feels clearer, it feels more real. And when progress feels clear and real, you keep going.